All right, y'all. Let's get back into it. Let's get back into it. Who is your sleeper, Ike, from this recruiting class? Who is the guy from the 2023 recruiting class that you think actually takes that next step forward and reaches their potential?
There's a couple of guys that I have been hoping would just kind of break through and be, like going into the season, like Mike said, Keldrick Falk, I think was the pick for everybody. Like, oh, he's gonna have an amazing freshman year. Um, K. Lee started really well, and I think that he's got a lot of upside still left in him. I think people are already really high on Jeremiah Cobb, so none of those guys are going to be my sleeper pick. Um, the guy that I'm looking at is Tyler Johnson.
Hmm.
Tyler Johnson, I think, again, going kind of off of the same thing with Connor Lew, I think Tyler Johnson has the potential to come out there and really be another young piece that can contribute. I don't know if he contributes this year, but I think before he leaves Auburn, he's going to be a guy that will be able to get out there and do some really, if he's able to stay patient and all that thing. Um, I think that I think Tyler Johnson will be a guy that can be really good for this Auburn team in the future, and he's going to be my sleeper pick. There are a lot of guys that I really like out of this class, but Tyler
Mhm.
Johnson is going to be the guy that I'm gonna look at and say, because listen, he's a tackle man, and that's a place where we talked about the ineptitude at the offensive line and period. It's been that times two for offensive tackles at
Right.
all. And Auburn's done well in this current recruiting class getting tackles in there. I'm thinking Tyler Johnson is a guy who could potentially be a good offensive tackle for Auburn going forward.
Not a bad pick, especially again, offensive line. That's an important position. Again, we hadn't been seeing a lot of tackles being recruited, right? So it's good to have a guy that we are looking forward to developing and coming into his own. Mine is going to be Darren Reed Jr., DJ Reed, the
Mm,
defensive lineman. Uh, Auburn has a new defensive coordinator, DJ Durkin.
yeah, yeah,
One of the things that we've seen out of his defense is he has a very strong front seven.
for sure, for sure.
With the guys that we've lost, some of the bodies we've lost up front, granted, we've replaced a lot of bodies through the transfer portal. I think this is a great opportunity for DJ Reed. A lot of people were high on him. They
Hmm.
were speaking very highly of him, even when the class was signed. People were
Yeah,
speaking his name. I think with a year under his belt in the strength and conditioning program, now you have a defensive coordinator who has proven to really develop guys in the front seven. This is a great opportunity for DJ to really assert himself and become a contributor along the defensive line. I really do expect Auburn's defensive line to really take a step forward. We have some amazing guys, Harris, who went off to the league.
right.
But I really expect Auburn to begin to take a step forward in terms of bolstering its defensive line and really becoming a brick wall for in the run defense. And I think it starts with guys like this. Darren Reed is going to be my pick for who could be a breakout from this recruiting class. Thoughts on that, Ike?
I'm not mad at that at all. I was one of those people that was high on DJ Reed. I think he was kind of he was a guy who came in, during the summer, right? So he wasn't an early enrollee, and there was just a lot of, hey, this guy's going to be special when he gets his opportunity. Didn't get a lot of playing time last year, so he still got that red shirt. But he's a guy who I liked a lot. And again, if you were there with me during the signing day, and watched me kind of go crazy over some people's
Mm-hmm.
highlight films. DJ Reed was one of those guys who I was like, I like the upside of that young man. I liked what he did in some of the All Star. I forgot which one he did, whether it was the Under Armour or um the All
All
American
American,
thing.
All American. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know which one of them he did, but I think he played well, showed some good signs in those situations. So yeah, I'm definitely not mad at DJ Reed being a sleeper. He didn't get a lot of opportunities last year, and Coach Freeze has mentioned him a couple of times. He mentioned him a little bit in the bowl practice leading up about him needing to step up. He mentioned him a little bit going into this season about him needing to step up. So he's going to get his opportunities. Like you said, Coach Durkin with that front seven prowess that he has of getting those guys really active. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's able to do.
Oh yeah, he's back. But I can hear the background noise. Mike, you there?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yep.
There
Okay.
Yep.
you go. There you go. You just back in good timing as well because we've gone already naming our breakout. Uh, Ike mentioned Tyler Johnson, the tackle, offensive tackle, as a breakout guy. I mentioned DJ Reed on the defensive side. Do you need us to bring that list back up so you can see it,
Man, let
sir?
me see it.
All right. So here it is again for those of you who are joining us who just now joining us who may have missed the list. Here's the 2023 class revisited in its entirety. What say you, Mike? Who's kind of a under the radar guy who you think could actually make some noise with Auburn moving forward?
uh, Hear me out. I don't know if he's under the radar, but I do think he has a chance to make some noise this year. It's Hank Brown.
Okay.
All right. Not mad at that.
Uh, this is a very, very important year for Hugh Freeze, guys. Year one put a lot of pressure on year two.
Yeah.
It did. And because it wasn't just by the end of the year, it wasn't just player things. It was management things as well. And so he's got to win. He's got to find his way to 7 or 8 games this year. Every single one of your road games is against a team that's projected to be in the top 25. Missouri, Bama, Georgia, Kentucky, all projected top 25 teams. And 3 of those may be top 10. You have another one that will be top 15 in Oklahoma joining the conference. But they finished around 12 last year, right? So if Auburn lost all those games, there's only 7 more games left on the schedule for you to win. We know that 4 of them are like guaranteed wins. But LSU, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State fall off the schedule. And I say all that to say this. Quarterback is going to be so important for Auburn this year because I believe in my heart that Hugh Freeze wants to get to 2025 however he can. But you can't have another 6-win season. Now, I'm not saying Hugh Freeze is on the hot seat going into next year. I'm saying that seat will be extremely warm going into 2025 if it's another 6-6 season. It's been 3 straight years of 500 or less for Auburn. That's tough. So you've got to show progress. You've got to show marked progress this year. And that starts at quarterback. So why did I say Hank Brown? Well, one way or another, we're going to find out if Payne Thorne is a dude. If he's not, I think it's Hank's turn to step in. And if he produces, if the bowl game, the quarter and a half of the bowl game was a microcosm of what we might expect from Hank Brown, he could definitely make some noise, especially throwing the ball to Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, and Lambert Smith. So, this guy, in the interview that we did with him, he talked about being committed to Liberty. Then when Hugh Freeze got the job to Auburn, he came to Auburn. And it may not feel like it to a lot of fans, but Hank Brown is a Hugh Freeze guy.
Yeah.
B. Will is not with us, but he said over and over again in the offseason, it's going to be a Hugh Freeze guy. I wasn't so sure, but B ended up being extra right about this. Nobody who is not a Hugh Freeze guy has a chance. And this year, there's nowhere to go but Hank Brown. If quarterback isn't getting it done, there's nowhere to go but Hank Brown. I think that he might be the sleeper. Nobody's going to be talking about him in the SEC. He's not going to be going to media days. He's not going to be projected to be all SEC by any chance. But that's why I think he's a sleeper.
By sleeper, you mean
But his
When
chance,
when he gets his number called.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah, he's going to be the guy that shocks everybody. Like, whoa, why was this guy on the bench? That's my
Yeah.
definition of a sleeper, right? Like,
Yeah,
hey,
no, I'm not mad. I'm absolutely not mad at that pick at
yeah,
all.
yeah, like why?
I
Why
I
was this guy on
am
the bench?
super high on Hank Brown's ability. I want to see him get an opportunity um to go out there and show it on the field. I know that people are thinking, people are making too much of garbage time in listen, he showed me a lot in that garbage time
Yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah. But if you're going to negatively judge Holden by his garbage time, then
Yeah,
you have to give Hank Brown his props for his garbage time.
correct.
Right?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of the time Holden's gone, it's been garbage time, but it's not stopping people from smashing him over it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I see that Daniel says, what about Holden? Daniel, I just, it's not that I don't think Holden is good or capable. I just don't think he's a Hugh Freeze guy.
He's not.
And this is where I'm coming from. This is where I'm joining B. And I'm just saying, like, look, man, he's definitely leaning towards his guys.
I'm just surprised Holden. I'm be honest. I'm surprised Holden's still
Yeah,
here. I
man.
really am.
I honestly,
I'm surprised.
he gets his degree in December. The timing may be a little, whatever for him, but it's a hard decision for a lot of kids to leave Auburn. They love it here. They've got community, they've got all this stuff, but if you're Holden, you're in the situation where you could leave here and end up in a worse situation.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
So you have to either
look at Robbie, right? Like Robbie, not that he should have stayed at Auburn. Robbie made the right decision to leave. But he's not a starter where he is, right? Like you've got to find a fit for you and make sure that whatever decision you make in the transfer portal is one where you're bettering your chances to play, not
Right.
just going somewhere else to compete for. Like, listen, you got to make me some assurances in the transfer portal, bro. Like, I'm not coming to compete. Like, I know people, man, these kids don't want to compete. I'm not leaving where I am to come compete where you are. Not for quarterback.
Yeah,
I want to play.
the problem is that if you don't have the tape, you can't really you can't make
You can't command
demands.
that.
Yeah, you
Sure.
can't command that. So you have to
You
be
can
willing
if you're willing to go down
a program. That's where I was
yes.
going, right?
Yeah.
The TJ Finley route.
Yes.
All
If
right.
you're willing to go to a group of 5 to
Yeah,
a FCS
absolutely.
school, I can make all the demands I want to. I'm better than all the recruits that even gave you guys go somewhere and play, but I'm going to go somewhere where the situation is I'm getting the job at quarterback. Not, hey, we're going to give you a legitimate shot to come in. No, sir. No, sir. We're not coming to compete. We're coming to play.
We talked about this on a previous show about the quarterback situation and, under what scenario could Holden or Hank still be here after this year? Because Peyton's done. However, so he's gone, and Walker White's their guy. So it's going to be unless Walker regresses, it's going to be hard not to see him jump those other two guys if they don't get time on the field this year. Right? So if you're Hank, you're sitting here, you're waiting, and you're like, this is your one chance this year to hold those other guys at bay. Because if we get through the season and Holden and Hank haven't seen significant time on, here at quarterback, they got to be gone. And I don't know that they watch this, but if you're watching me, start making plans mid-season.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you what's going to happen. It's going to be Walker White, or it's going to be a Juju Lewis type, or it's going to be $1 million portal QB. So if you're Hank, this is if you're going to do it at Auburn, this is your time. That's why I think he's a sleeper. And you just never know, man. Like, I mean, it feels like everybody in this league has a backup that they like.
Sure.
And they trust to come in the game and perform. Most of the teams in like the top half of the league, they have
maybe the top half.
Yeah.
I was about to say I can't even tell you who some of the backups are at some of these places. I have no idea.
Yeah, they have a backup that they like and that they are looking forward to the future at. I just what was the guy that was at Georgia? I think he's at Kentucky. Brock Vandergriff.
Vandergriff.
Right. Yeah, he's at Kentucky. He's a starter someplace else. Like backups from other schools are taking starting positions at other SEC schools.
Yeah, well, he was more highly
Sure.
sought after coming out of high school.
Yeah, I'm
So
just saying,
Yeah.
like they're stockpiling talent at these other programs. Where I say that's why I'm saying at the better programs in the league, at the top half,
yeah,
everybody's got a backup they like,
Sure.
yeah.
right? Except for Auburn. Right now, who's the backup you love for this year? Because we're Walker White fans, but for this year, I don't see it. And between Hank and Holden, it's tough.
Some people have been. Some people after the bowl game, people have been high on Hank.
Hank,
There are a
right?
lot of
Yeah,
people been high on Hank.
that's why he's my sleeper, though. That's why he's my sleeper. You listen. He got 9 throws, and he made the best he could out of 7 of them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all you could do. And I know it's a small sample size where everybody starts screaming at me, but like, what else could he do? I mean, if he had gone out there and thrown it bad, you would have been like, oh, it's just a small sample. No, they're killing Holden over the same thing.
Yeah. And that was the kid's first time out there.
Yeah, like Ike and I were talking about this. Holden and Hank actually have about the same amount of time on the field.
Yeah.
If you total up all Holden snaps, it's it's about the
Yeah.
same about what Hank Brown got in that bowl game. So yeah, and people have used that to determine that he can't be a guy here. I hear it all the time. He can't do this, he can't do that. I'm not sure. I'm not all the way there with Holden, but I just don't think it matters if you're not Hugh Freeze's guy. He had a idea about this roster, and he said this part out loud all year. We need talent, we need talent, we need talent. So I expect him to lean towards the guys that he brought in because those are the guys he deemed good enough to play here. If you were here before, you were part of the culture he's trying to change, whether that's fair or not. And there were only a few guys that escaped that moniker, right? Jarquez Hunter, Damari escaped it. On defense, like Keontae escaped it. There were a few guys who escaped it, but most of them, man, like they got hit with it. So, Hank Brown, that's it. He's the guy I'm going to be watching. I hope that for Auburn's sake, I hope that Peyton Thorne has a hell of a year.
Right.
I do. I hope Peyton Thorne has a hell of a year because it means that these receivers are going to eat and the future is going to be super bright for Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, and Malcolm Simmons and Bryce Kane. Because the bags going to have to start flowing if it's not a good year to keep those guys on campus. Now with the new transfer rules, they can get a bag and go play anywhere. All 4 of those guys will get a lot of money to go play someplace else if they don't feel like Auburn's headed the right direction. And that starts with knowing that there is a guy throwing the ball that can get it to you. And a lot of those guys believe in Hank too. He's very well liked by his teammates. He is. I think Hank's a gamer, guys. I don't think you judge Hank Brown very harshly, like based on how he practices. I know how that sounds, but like, I just think he's a gamer. I think you put him in there and he just gets it done.
Well, Hugh Freeze said the same thing about Bo Wallace at Ole Miss. He was like
he wasn't really
that great of a practice guy, but the lights came on, he made plays.
Yeah.
So it's Hank Brown could very well be that type of guy.
For full episodes, check out the Midweek Report, going live on the War Report's YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time Wednesday nights. Until the next time, War Eagle.